Hey, house groups, hope you're having a great week so far. Just want to say thank you to everyone who served on Sunday for Reach Des Moines. I was telling Courtney yesterday, truly, I'm just so thankful to be a part of a church that serves sacrificially. It really is special. I love it. It's not just something that we do on top of a normal gathering together. It's a regular part of how we gather together, and it makes a difference. That's the beauty of combined effort. While individually, maybe some of us can feel or get to the end and wonder, how big of a difference did I actually make that for just those few hours on that Sunday morning? But the leaders of the organizations that we're partnering with, they continually, time after time, have reached Des Moines. They cannot thank us enough as a whole for what we did, because it just freed up hours and hours, sometimes even a week or more's worth of work that allows them to keep pushing the mission and vision forward. It creates space where we can move some of the small rocks so that they can continue moving big ones, it's so awesome. I could go on and on again, but thank you for serving on Sunday. And if you think of it, reach out to Courtney. Thank her for all the work that she put into organizing everything. It's not an easy job, but she nails it every time. Now, this week, I wanted to flash back to a couple Sundays ago. It was week 2 of our First Comes Love, Then Comes Baggage series. And since it was Serve Week last week, I thought that this week we would talk about Mike's message from that week and kind of dig back into some of those conversations about marriage. And now, to start, I don't know if you know this about me. Maybe you've heard it in my story or testimony before. It might even kind of be a shock to a few of you, but I've actually been engaged a few different times. I don't know if it's maybe just what you'd call the hopeless romantic in me or complete idiotness, but it's true. My first engagement was to a girl named Kirsten. We were young and dumb and just fell in love really fast. And I'm not saying that I didn't make any mistakes or wasn't at fault in the situation, but I didn't know any better. I just thought that's how romance worked. You meet someone, you fall in love, you get married, and so on. I truly thought that she was the one. And so I asked her to marry me, and she said yes. And we were so excited at the time. We wanted to spend every waking moment together, and so we came up with this plan kind of just to do just that. We plotted that we would both ask Mrs. Riggs, our kindergarten teacher, to use the bathroom. But I would go first, and then she would ask a few seconds later so that it wouldn't seem suspicious. And then we'd meet up and we could talk. It was a brilliant plan. And the bathrooms for our kindergarten class, they were in the classroom itself, just kind of 2 single-use bathrooms for the class, one for boys, one for girls, and they were on opposite sides in the back of the classroom, but you could also kind of walk behind the bathrooms to this connecting hallway with all of our cubbies in it. And so what I did was walk back to the bathroom. I asked first, walked back to the bathroom, went in, flushed the toilet just to start off so that everyone knew that I was in there. Everyone knew that I was in there. And then I slammed the door a little extra hard so that, again, they didn't know that I was talking to my fiance back there. But I walked around to the cubby area. Nobody knew a thing. Nobody was the wiser. And then she did the same thing a minute later. And there we were by the cubbies. No one had a clue. And I mean, you all know how sneaky 5-year-olds are. I'm sure they couldn't hear us talking all the way 15 feet away from them in this open hallway. Now, if you can believe it, we never did end up tying the knot. It wasn't the healthiest of relationships. I remember one day we were talking about recess, and she said if I played kickball instead of playing with her, that she was not going to marry me. So, pretty manipulative. And I'm sure that engagement died on the playground, but I truly believed at that time, as much as my 5-year-old brain could believe, that she was the one. It was a match made in heaven, which is a pretty funny phrase because it makes me think of every rom-com that exists and just how it kind of implies the myth of the one. That there really is just this one person meant for you to do life with, which, I don't know, seems like a lot of pressure to me because all it takes is for one person to screw it up and it throws the whole world off. But what I like about that phrase, actually, this match made in heaven, is it lives as a reminder that God invented marriage. He created marriage. He loves marriage. The idea that we were created to match up with another human being and share life with them, it is God's idea. Which means marriages should matter a whole lot to us because they matter a whole lot to God. And healthy marriages have a huge impact on our families, our neighborhoods, our workplaces, our churches, and our world. The difference between a fairy tale kindergarten-like story and a strong, healthy, match made in heaven marriage is that one of those relationships is based on the other person being perfect and fulfilling every one of your gaps and insecurities as a way of making you feel complete, while the other acknowledges our own deficits and looks to the way God intentionally designed things for ultimate fulfillment. Now, if you remember, Mike, he talked about this idea that some of the most destructive baggage we carry is bad ideas we've believed. And I think a lot of those ideas tend to give bad expectations and misconceptions about what marriage is, what it's for, and what a healthy one looks like. And it's easy to think that marriage is about what you can get or what another person can do for you, or that it will somehow fill the voids and insecurities that you feel. You'll meet the one, it'll be perfect, and you'll live happily ever after. Like, that's the big idea. And there's an illustration that one of my professors in college that he used that I loved. I should have grabbed a pencil and a paper, but he drew kind of this married couple just standing next to each other side by side, and he used arrows to talk about how a person relationally affects the other. And in our rom-com culture, it's easy to see like what you can get out of a person. And it might not even be our intention, but it's how we live. Like, all of a sudden, we've got these arrows pointing over this person. Like, what are you going to do for me? Are you serving me? Are you meeting my needs? And if you're consistently doing this over and over again, you're going to end up just beating each other down. We get tired in our relationships this way. We long for fulfillment within them. But on the flip side, like, if marriage is this space of self-sacrifice, and if it's a covenant connection designed by God, like Mike talked about last week, marriage becomes a place where we serve and we build each other up. All of a sudden, those arrows are coming from beneath to build that other person up. And when you've got two people serving and building each other up, marriage, it absolutely becomes a source of strength. It's a covenant connection. It's a space of self-sacrifice, and it's a source of strength. But let's face it, like, we live in an imperfect world. We are imperfect people. A lot of times I know I catch myself with my arrows pushing down more than they're lifting up. And if we get caught up in that habit over and over again, marriage, it can feel pretty lonely and isolated. Like, a lot of times we may think that singleness is where loneliness lives, but that's not true at all. Loneliness thrives in places of disconnection. And because no one person can fulfill all of our needs and desires and fill the gap of our relational deficits, God created multiple different types of relationships. We have the vertical relationship with the creator of the universe that only he can fulfill, but we also have our horizontal relationships of the close people that we trust and do life with that only they can fulfill. We're creatures of community designed by God to do life together, to do life with each other and with him. And what this all kind of boils down to is the fact that relationally, we need God and we need each other, both and, completely and fully. No one person is ever going to make us feel completely whole and fulfilled. Like, putting that type of pressure on one person will ultimately just crush them. And so instead, let's throw out our baggage and misconceptions and hold tight to God's intentional design. Remember, marriage is a covenant connection. It is a place of self-sacrifice, and it is a source of strength. Like, when we can kick the baggage of the bad ideas we've believed and acknowledge our own deficits, it allows us to really build on the foundation of those three things well. And if your marriage doesn't look like that perfectly, like, welcome to the club. Let's all admit that together and go talk about the ways that we can build each other up and discuss ideas for how we can better live out God's design.